Hey friends! I felt like I've said this quite a few times in the past two videos, but yeah, seriously, I hope you enjoyed the last 2 months with ZMemories. So what exactly am I here to do today? Well, I would like to talk a bit more about what ZMemories was all about, why I decided to make the series in the first place, and also to clear up some misconceptions some of you might have with regards to the future of this channel, and of course, what's coming up next. If you watched the ZMemory finale with rants, then an early bit of this might sound a little familiar, but most of it's going to be new stuff. This was delayed a bit due to personal reasons. I won't give any details, but I do mention any updates with regards to myself and the channel on my Twitter at ZerenVN as always, if you want to check that out. Before I even get started, for those who don't know, ZMemories was a series of 12 videos where I covered visual novels that have some importance to me throughout the years. Not sure why I need to explain that. I assume you all are here after watching the series, but if not, go ahead and watch them. I'll have all of them linked at the end in a single playlist. Anyways, so I started this entire ZMemories series with the intention that it would be a send-off of sorts to my favorite visual novels, where I would just tackle them one by one in a row. Aside from being an incredibly nice romp down memory lane for me, it was also a test of sorts, where I wanted to see if I was able to keep up a regular schedule of 2 videos a week. The short answer to that question is obviously no. Even with a 6 video head start, I still managed to fall behind right at the very ending. Even before that, although ZMemories has been going on for 2 months, I actually did spend about 2 months before that laying down a groundwork for the series, such as writing roughly about 8 out of the 12 scripts beforehand, planning which VNs to cover, playing through some of the games to refresh my memory, and so on. The Rant's finale was also never meant to be 44 minutes long, and just kind of ended up that way after I figured if I was going to talk about that series, I was going to do it right. ZMemories was also, from the get-go, made to be a more liberating experience for me. What do I mean by that? Well, some of you probably know that I used to do a series I called Visual Novel Primers, where I focused on trying to introduce different visual novels from a non-biased point of view. If a visual novel had gameplay, I would explain that gameplay in such detail where anyone could understand how to play it and do well in it. I enjoyed making some of these VNPs, but my problem with them as a whole was that I placed way too many limitations on myself when I ended up making the framework for the series. Spoilers were a no-go from the beginning, sure, but I also try to keep my own opinion of the visual novel largely out of the picture, which kinda sucked because I enjoyed talking about that, and I assume people enjoy hearing about it as well. I also tried to explain the gameplay comprehensively, if there was any, which was exceedingly tedious work, and worse than that, took up roughly 75% of the video, where afterwards I just didn't have any time to talk about anything else. Finally, I felt like there were plenty of series that there just wasn't any reason to do a VNP on, like Phoenix Wright, Tsukihime, Fate, Steins Gate, and so on. Because you don't need me to do an introduction to any of these series, you already know about them, and even if you don't, I'm sure there are plenty of other people who would want to talk about it. I decided for ZMemories on the other hand that I was going to cover whatever I wanted. Screw worrying about whether people would be interested, or if it was already popular. If I had something I want to say about it, then I was going to talk about it. I much more greatly appreciate this free-form format, and it is probably what I intend to stick to from this point on. Finally, ZMemories was meant most of all, above everything else I just mentioned, to show everyone here the kind of visual novels that made up my VN reading history. If you noticed, a good half of them I mentioned were actually visual novel game hybrids, like Gaozu Island, Dual Savior Justice, Ano Acelia, Beat Blades Haruka, Utaru Mono, and of course, Rants. The reason that's the case is because, as I already mentioned in the ZMemories finale, what I love most about all of these games isn't the fact that they are visual novels, it's that I think nearly all of them are fantastic games that do an excellent job putting a ton of emphasis on the story and characters. And I think that even outside of visual novels, there are plenty of games that are equally as excellent in that department. I also want to be completely honest here. This is definitely going to be kind of ranty, and feel free to disagree with me on this, it's just something I thought about. But you've seen me cover all these visual novels with gameplay, right? I want to put this question out there. At what point is a game classified as a visual novel as opposed to not one? Is VNDB the one true source that should be considered? If so, why is Makai Shin Trillion and AU Senki on there, while stuff like Zero Time Dilemma and Agarist Generations of War are not? I personally feel like they have pretty much the same amount of story vs gameplay. Even if you start being like, only if it has no gameplay then it is a visual novel, then what about Yuno, what is widely considered to be one of the most important visual novels ever? Yuno is more of an adventure game than anything else. Why are other adventure games where the only interaction is picking up items, not visual novels? Moving all that aside, what is considered a visual novel then? Does it have to have a specific amount of dialogue? Does it have to have characters talking in text boxes? Does it have to be 18 plus? Does it have to be a doujin game? Does it have to have multiple routes or endings? Does it have to have a certain low amount of gameplay? Does it have to be Japanese? Obviously the answer to all of that is no. There are visual novels that run contrary to all of that, and I'm sure there are people who argue that Rants isn't even a visual novel. Look, what I'm trying to say is that I felt like limiting myself to only covering visual novels was a dumb idea. Mostly because I think that at some point, whether someone calls a game a visual novel or not really is up to personal perspective. I've actually been hesitant to cover certain games because of this distinction, and I finally figured that, you know what, it's not that important in the end. While I find it tough to definitively call whether some of these games are visual novels or not, I do know when a game has amazing story, characters, and gameplay, or a lack thereof, and if that's what you came here for, you certainly won't be disappointed. Speaking of what you are here for, let's jump into the second main topic of this video, the future of the channel and what you can expect next. First off, let me clear up one misconception that some of you might be under. A few of you seem to expect that I plan on never playing visual novels again, that I suddenly become focused on anime or talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm here to say, of course that's not the case. When I say I plan on branching out, I mean I plan on covering everything that I enjoy, and that most definitely includes visual novels. It's just that outside of visual novels, I think there are tons of Japanese games that would also be incredibly fun to talk about, and ones that could always use more attention. Series like Super Robot Wars, Disaster Report, Legend of Heroes, and so on. One's a love letter to all mecha fans, and also a dang good game. One's an absolute jank fest, which I think would be a great laugh. And one is just an amazing JRPG series that anyone looking for an epic saga would be remiss in not playing. And these are absolutely just one of many that I might cover in the future. At the same time, I still do play tons of visual novel games. I've got plans to cover stuff like Bunny Black, Yumi no Ethereal, Monster Girl Quest, Summer Pockets. I actually recently just finished Venus Blood Frontier, and I've got tons of footage recorded and ready, so that might be coming out soon too. Finally, I did say I was branching out. I plan on definitely hitting up some doujin and RPG Maker games, two genres that I think are criminally underrated, and absolutely filled with tons of complete garbage, but with a few hidden gems here and there. Outside of that, I've also gotten into the habit of reading light novels and web novels, so I might dabble into that as a small side thing, and well, video games are topics in general, whatever they may be. There are also even many recent console releases that I find an absolute blast to play, and would love to talk about. Regardless, I can promise one thing at the very least. I said this when I first made the channel, and I'll say it again here. I cannot promise that everything I'm going to cover is going to be the best dang thing you've ever seen in your entire life. However, what I can say is that chances are you will discover some new series that you've probably never heard of, and as long as you come in with an open mind, you'll definitely discover some new stories to fall in love with as well. In the spirit of my content moving to whatever I'm personally interested in, I'm throwing out all the different series monikers like visual novel primers, ZMemories, and so on. Instead, every video I make from this point on will simply end with Zirian. Makes it so that I don't have to keep on thinking of catchy names, and keeps things a lot simpler, which is better for everyone in my opinion. Let's move on to the most important part of today's announcement, the new schedule. I said it earlier, but ZMemories, outside of everything else it represented, was a test to check if I could keep up with a 2-video-a-week schedule. As that clearly isn't the case, in an effort to keep up what I hope is perceived as decent quality videos, for my new schedule, I'll be releasing a new video every Saturday at around 10 AM to 1 PM PST, but mostly it will come out at 10 AM. I realize that it's best for all of you to know in advance when to expect my videos to come out, and 10 AM seems to be the best time for most people. Additionally, if I ever feel particularly inspired, have a smaller topic that I would like to cover, like maybe a light novel I found interesting, or just whatever reason, I will release another video during the weekday, probably Tuesday, in addition to the Saturday one, at around the same time. Only if I'm ahead and feel like it though. That I think will be my new schedule from this point on, one I will do my utmost to try and keep up, and if I fail, well, you'll probably hear me say why on my Twitter, as always. I hope you are looking forward to the future as much as I am with regards to this channel. If you have subscribed purely for visual novels or even just rants, I will still be talking about visual novels and yes, eroges as well, so you can always pop on by when that time comes around. That said, I think if you are anything like me and you've enjoyed everything I've talked about up until now, I assume you kind of are on some level, then you will probably find everything I plan to cover in the future equally as fascinating, whether it be because you want to play it or just to learn about in general. Quirky Japanese games are my bread and butter, and I got a ton ready and waiting. Finally, no matter what, thank you for watching and enjoying ZMemories, from the beginning with Tsukihime, all the way till the end with rants. If you missed any of them and want to look back, the playlist will be linked at the end of this video. It's definitely all of you that make me want to continue making videos, when I'm frustrated by coming up with titles or tags, or when I get depressed by how my videos do sometimes, like it only gets double-digit views or whatever. It's all of your supportive comments that make me feel like it's worth it in the end. I know this is really sappy, but once again, sincerely, thank you so much for your fun comments, for your support, and for enjoying my content. I hope you had a great time thus far, and will continue to have them as we move into the future. Like, subscribe, notification, and Twitter at ZerianVN is in the same place as always. I'll see you next Saturday. Zerian out. Oh right, before I leave, here's the entire ZMemories playlist in case you missed any. Now for real, till next time!